Shalom Aleichem, peace be upon you, and welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Shawn. Today, we're looking at this week's Torah portion, according to the Torah portion schedule, and we're ready for Noach, that is to say Noah, which is Genesis chapter 6, verse 9, all the way through chapter 11. Let me give you the portion summary real quick from TorahPortions.org. It says, the second reading in the book of Genesis is named after Noah. In Hebrew, the name of Noah is Noach. The word Noach is related to the Hebrew word for rest. Genesis 5:29 says that his parents named him Noach because they hoped their son would give them rest from their toil. The contents of the section of Noah tell the story of Noah's flood, the Tower of Babel, and the beginning of the Abrahamic line. You know, it's interesting to me that they named Noah Noach, meaning rest, Nacham. And because what ended up happening wasn't really rest maybe in the sense that they were hoping. It was rest for the earth. And all of that, the outcome would be that, but probably not the rest that they were expecting, right? The world had become so corrupt, genetically, morally, that God said that he regretted making man. And the only way to solve this problem, because it's so far gone, men had gotten so filthy, so evil, their hearts were so wicked, there was nothing but violence all the time, that God had, well, and not only that, I keep bringing up the genetic aspect, which we get from the Dead Sea Scrolls, from the Book of Enoch, from oral tradition, all of these things. There's no end of evidence. Man had destroyed the earth and really corrupted creation to the point where the only answer was to destroy it and start over. I believe that's the conditions that we will have in the end as well. And I think we're there. I think we really are there. Where the only answer is to not flood it this time, but burn it. And so the story of Noah has always intrigued me. Something I recommend that you do this weekend, if you have time, or today, or whenever, is you go to the YouTube channel, and you go to a little hourglass, and you search for flood on my channel. You'll find a part 1 and part 2 that we did earlier this year for Shavuot, just a few months ago, 4 months ago, where we talked about the flood of Noah from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I would listen to those. They're only 25 minutes apiece, to really add value to the story you're hearing this morning. You'll also see on there a podcast I did about 7 years ago, The Days of Noah, the Days of Lot, the Great Flood according to Jasher. So just some extra, if you want more, if you really want to hone in on the story of the flood of Noah. Noah was considered perfect in his generations. And I think what it means there, we're getting ready to read that. That's the very first verse, in fact, is that Noah was two things. Number one, he was pure genetically. He wasn't genetically corrupt from the things that were happening at that time. And in comparison to his generation, he was extremely righteous. And that commentary also comes from rabbinic commentary. That was the thought. It wasn't that he was perfect. It was that comparatively to the culture around him, he was. All right. Most of the commentary is out of the way on the front end this morning. Open up your hearts, and let's see what the Word of God has to say to us. Starting with verse 9, Genesis chapter 6, let's begin. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noach walked with Elohim. And Noah brought forth 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the earth was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And see, I'm going to destroy them from the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and outside with tar. And this is how you are to make it. The length of the ark is 300 amma, its width 50 amma, and its height 30 amma. Make a window for the ark, and complete it to an amma from above, and put the door of the ark in its side. Make it with the lower deck, second and third decks. And see, I myself am bringing floodwaters on the earth to destroy all flesh, which is in the breath of life from under the Shemayim, that is to say heavens. All that is on the earth is to die. Please note, just an interesting fact, and you can go look this up yourself and Google it, but gopher wood, which was used to build the ark, primarily, it's a rare wood, a rare tree that is commonly found in Florida, of all places. And there's only a couple places in the world where it is found. You have a little bit of it, you have some related species that can be found in China and some related species in Northern California. But there's really no known similar wood anywhere else in the world. So, just an interesting little fact. Is it possible that where Noah built his boat was somewhere here in the Americas before the flood started? Just an interesting little side note for you to chew on. Let's continue. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your son's wife with you, and all the living creatures of all flesh, 2 of each. You are to bring them into the ark, to keep them alive with you, a male and a female. Of the birds after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and the creeping creatures of the earth after their kind, 2 of each are to come to you, to keep them alive. As for you, take of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. And Noach did according to all that Elohim commanded him, so he did. And Jehovah said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Of all the clean beasts take with you 7 pairs, a male and a female, and of the beasts that are unclean 2, a male and his female, and of the birds of the Shemayim 7 pairs, male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I am sending rain on the earth. 40 days and 40 nights shall wipe, and it shall wipe from the face of the earth all that stand that I created. And Noah did according to all that Jehovah commanded him. Now Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of the flood, and of the clean beast and the beasts that are unclean, and of birds and all that creep on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark of Noah, male and female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. And it came to be after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the Shemayim were opened, and rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So please note, it wasn't just rain. What we have here is we have the deeps under the earth and above the earth opening up. And so you have water spouting up, springing up from the ground, and torrential downpour. And it had never rained before. This is the first. And so the earth begins to flood. On that same day, Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, went into the ark. They and every living creature after its kind, and every beast after its kind, and every creeping creature that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird and after its kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark of Noach, 2 by 2, all the flesh in which is in the breath of life. And those going in, male and female, all flesh, went in as Elohim had commanded him, and Jehovah shut him in. And the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. And the waters were mighty and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters were exceedingly mighty on the earth, and all the high mountains under all the Shemayim were covered. And the waters became mighty, 15 amma upward, and the mountains were covered. And all the flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts, and every creeping creature that creeps on the earth, and all mankind. And whose nostrils was the breath and the spirit of life, all that was on dry land died. So he wiped off all that stand, which were on the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature and bird, and the Shemayim. And they were wiped off from the earth. And only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And the waters were mighty on the earth 150 days. And Elohim remembered Noah, and all the beasts, and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of the Shemayim were stopped. And the rain from the Shemayim was withheld, and the waters receded steadily from the earth. And at the end of 150 days, the waters diminished. And in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Arat. And the waters decreased steadily until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. And it came to be, at the end of 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent out a raven which kept going out and turning back until the waters had dried up from the earth. And then he sent out a dove from him to see if the waters had receded from the ground. But the dove found no resting place for its feet and returned to the ark to him. For the waters were on the face of all the earth. So he put out his hand, and he took it, and pulled it into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. And the dove came to him in the evening, and see, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in its mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. And he waited yet another 7 days, and he sent out the dove, which did not return to him again. And it came to be in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and saw the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. And Elohim spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living creature of all flesh that is with you, of birds, of cattle, and all creeping creatures that creep on the earth. And let them teem on the earth, and bear and increase on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping creature, and every bird, whatever creeps on the earth according to their kinds, went out of the ark. And Noach built an altar to Jehovah, and took every clean beast, and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Jehovah smelled the soothing fragrance. And Jehovah said in his heart, Never again shall I curse the ground because of man. Although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth, and never again smite all of life as I have done. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, the day and night shall not cease. So please note, before we move on to chapter 9 here, God says, I'll never curse the ground again, although the inclination of man's heart is evil from his youth. The Word of God is pointing out the human condition, which is that from our youth, our hearts are desperately wicked. And mankind goes after the things not of God. And that is just the condition of the human being. And, it's without the Holy Spirit, we have no strength. Without God's grace and mercy, we have restraining us from evil. We will do the very things that displease and disgust God. We will. We just will. Because it's our nature. But God says, never again am I going to do this, even though man's heart is evil. And the seasons will remain. There's going to be a harvest, there's going to be a cold, there's going to be heat, there's going to be a winter, there's going to be a summer, and there's going to be a day and night until the end. All right, let's continue on. We have chapters 9, 10, and 11 to read. 3 more chapters. And Elohim barak Noach, that is, say, blessed Noah, and his sons, and said to them, bear fruit and increase and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you is on every beast of the earth, and every bird of the Shemayim, on all that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. Into your hands they have been given. So please note, real quick, one of the there's something interesting here. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it for time's sake, but if you remember in the book of Revelation, when the seals begin to open, and you have a pale horse, and he's able to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and with the beast of the earth. Here's a trend that I'm predicting based on Scripture. As we move closer and closer to the end of time, the end of this time, you will see more and more animals behaving strangely and attacking human beings. Up to this point, that hasn't really been a severe problem, because part of the blessing that God gave to Noah was what? And the fear of you and the dread of you is on every beast of the earth. Well, I believe as part of the judgment in the end, that fear and dread is removed. Just a little speculation. Let's continue on. Verse 3. Every moving creature that lives is food for you, and I have given you all as the green plants. But do not eat flesh with its life, its blood, but only your blood. For your lives I require. From the hand of every beast I require it, and from the hand of man. From the hand of every man's brother I require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood is shed. For in the image of Elohim he has made man. As for you, bear fruit and increase, and bring forth teemingly in the earth, and increase in it. And Elohim spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And see, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and every living creature that is with you, of the birds, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, of all that goes out of the ark, every beast of the earth, and I shall establish my covenant with you. And never again is all flesh cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again is the flood to destroy the earth. And Elohim said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, every living creature that is with you. For all generations shall come, I shall put my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And so we have the covenantal sign, which didn't exist before, because if you remember, before there was no rain, right? The rainbow requires rain. And so this is a new phenomenon that didn't exist before the flood that exists now. And it shall be, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I shall remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And never again let the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I shall see it, and I shall remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. And the sons of Noah, who went out of the ark, were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noach, and all the earth was overspread from them. And Noah, a man of the soil, began and planted a vineyard. And he drank the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and he told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it both on their shoulders, and they went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. But their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. And Noach awoke from his wine, and he knew what the younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed is Canaan. Let him become as a servant of servants to his brothers. And he said, Barak, that means blessed be Jehovah, the Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant. And Noach lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. And this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, and Yawan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphahath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Yawan, Elishash, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodadim. From these the coastlands people of the nations were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language and according to their clans, into their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Hawilah, and Tabtha, and Tabta, and Raamah, and Sabtika, and the sons of Raamah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush brought forth Nimrod, and he began to be mighty on the earth. And he was a mighty hunter before Jehovah. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Jehovah. And in the beginning of his reign was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Ashur and built Nineveh, and Rehoboth, and Kelach, and Rezin between Nineveh and Kelach, the city, the great city. And Mitzrayim brought forth Ludim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Naphatuhim, and Pathrusim, and Kalahumim, from whom came the Pelashites and the Caphtorim. And Canaan brought forth Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, and the Amorite, and the Girgashites, and the Hivite, and the Hivite, and the Argwite, and the Sinite, and the Arwadite, and the Tesmarite, and the Hamathite. And afterwards the clans of the Canaanites were spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon as you go toward Garir, as far as Azah, as you go toward Sodom and Amorah, and Adam and Tesboim as far as Lashah. These were the sons of Ham, according to their clans, according to their languages, in their lands, in their nations. And also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, brought forth. The sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arpachshad, and Lud, and Aram. And the sons of Aram, Utz, and Hol, and Gather, and Mash. And Arpachshad brought forth Shelach, and Shelach brought forth Aver. And Aver born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his day the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan brought forth Almadad, and Sheleph, and Hasmerweth, and Yera, and Hadoram, and Azul, and Dukla, and Avol, and Abilamel, and Sheba. and Ophir and Hawilah and Yobab. All these were the sons of Yoktan, and their dwelling place was in Masha, as you go towards Sephor, a mountain to the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their clans, according to their languages, in their lands, according to their nations. These were the clans of the sons of Noach, according to their generations, in their nations. And from these nations they were divided on the earth after the flood. And it came to be, all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they departed from the east, they found the plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, Come, let us make bricks, and bake them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the Shemayim, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered all over the face of the earth. Then Jehovah came down to see the city, and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Jehovah said, Look, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their languages, so that they do not understand one another's speech. And Jehovah scattered them from there and over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. That is why its name was called Babel, because Jehovah confused the languages of all the earth. And from there Jehovah scattered them over the face of the earth. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and brought forth Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. And after he brought forth Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Arpachshad lived 35 years, and brought forth Shelach. And after he brought forth Shelach, Arpachshad lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Shelach lived 30 years, and brought forth Aver. And after he brought forth Aver, Shelach lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Aver lived 34 years, and brought forth Peleg. And after he brought forth Peleg, Aver lived 430 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and brought forth Reu. And after he brought forth Reu, Peleg lived 209 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years, and brought forth Shurug. And after he brought forth Shurug, Reu lived 207 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Shurug lived 30 years, and brought forth Nahor. And after he brought forth Nahor, Shurug lived 200 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years, and brought forth Terah. And after he brought forth Terah, Nahor lived 119 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and brought forth Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terah. Terah brought forth Abram, Nahor, and Haran, and Haran brought forth Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah, in the land of his birth, Ur-Kasdim. And Abram and Nahor took wives, and the name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yishkah. And Sarah was barren, and she had no child. And Terah took his son Abram, and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out from Ur-Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah came to be 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. And that, my friends, is the Torah portion for this morning. It goes straight from the flood through the Tower of Babel, where man's languages were confused. And I believe the languages that we have today are the ones that Jehovah created when he confused the languages of mankind and scattered us. And then you get to the genealogy, and you finally get to Terah, and then you get to Abram and Sarai, and that is where our portion will pick up next week. The thing about the Torah portions is they're so long, because you're usually reading you're reading 3, 4, 5 chapters at a time, so we can't focus on everything, but I pray that you've been blessed this morning. And really, just so we know, just to be clear, the tradition was not necessarily someone giving commentary, but the tradition was just that the people would come and listen to it being read. And of course, there was probably some teaching before or after, but nevertheless, that is the tradition. All right. Thank you for listening. Peace and grace be with all of you. Until next time, God bless.